Right now, 4 astronauts are hurtling toward Earth at 40,000 kilometers per hour. And for exactly 4 minutes, no one can help them. Not NASA, not mission control, not the most advanced computers on the planet. 4 minutes where a handful of centimeters of material that already failed once, is the only thing standing between them and plasma hot enough to vaporize steel before you could blink. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly what those 4 minutes looked like from inside that capsule. And when you hear the full story, you're going to understand why engineers haven't slept properly in months. But first, quick question. Where are you watching this from right now? Drop your city in the comments. I genuinely want to know how far this story travels. Now, let's go back to the beginning. On April 1st, 2026, NASA did something it hadn't done in over 50 years. It sent human beings beyond low Earth orbit. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, Jeremy Hansen, 4 astronauts sitting on top of the most powerful rocket NASA has ever built, pointed at the moon. Victor Glover, the first black man to leave Earth's orbit. Christina Koch, the first woman to venture beyond low Earth orbit. Jeremy Hansen, a Canadian fighter pilot about to become the first Canadian to reach deep space. And Reed Wiseman, the commander who spent years landing fighter jets on moving aircraft carriers in the dark at 250 kilometers per hour, because apparently that's what you do when you enjoy a challenge. They launched from Kennedy Space Center. The crowd went wild, the internet went wild, and honestly, the launch itself went almost suspiciously well. But here's the thing nobody was really talking about on launch day. Getting to the moon is a problem of propulsion. You build a big enough rocket, you aim it right, and physics does the rest. Getting home is a different problem entirely. Getting home is a problem of survival. And the part of this mission that has been keeping engineers awake at night for years isn't the launch. It isn't the translunar injection burn that throws the capsule toward the moon at escape velocity. It isn't the 50 minutes of silence as the crew passes behind the far side of the moon where no signal from Earth can reach them. It's the last 10 minutes of a 10-day journey. Specifically, 4 minutes. Here's why. When a spacecraft returns from the International Space Station, it hits the atmosphere at around 28,000 kilometers per hour. Fast, violent, but well understood. Hundreds of missions have mapped out exactly what happens to a capsule at that speed. Orion is coming home from the moon. That means it hits the atmosphere at over 40,000 kilometers per hour. Mach 32. 32 times the speed of sound, the fastest any human being has ever traveled. At that velocity, the air molecules in front of the capsule can't move out of the way fast enough. They compress, they superheat, they ionize into plasma, and the temperature on the face of the heat shield climbs above 2,760 degrees Celsius. Structural steel melts at 1370. Titanium fails around 1670. Without protection, the capsule wouldn't crack or break. It would simply cease to exist. And that plasma does one more thing. It wraps around the capsule like a fist and kills every radio signal in every direction. No signal in, no signal out. For 4 minutes, the crew is completely, utterly alone. Now here's where the story gets uncomfortable. NASA didn't design a new heat shield for Artemis II. They used the one already bonded to the capsule. The one built using 186 pre-machined blocks of a material called AVCOAT, an ablative heat shield designed to do something unusual. It's designed to destroy itself on purpose. As the plasma forms, the outermost layer of AVCOAT chars under the heat. That charring absorbs enormous amounts of thermal energy. The char then erodes away into the airstream, carrying the heat with it. Layer by layer, the shield sacrifices itself so the structure underneath survives. NASA used AVCOAT on every single Apollo capsule that returned from the moon. It worked every single time. So when Artemis I launched in November 2022, an uncrewed test flight, everyone expected the same result. The launch was perfect. The mission was near flawless. And then engineers got the capsule back to Kennedy Space Center and took the heat shield apart. What they found stopped the room. Over 100 locations showed unexpected damage. Large sections of charred avcoat had cracked and broken away in irregular chunks. Not the smooth, controlled ablation that decades of testing had predicted. Jagged, unpredictable. In some areas, layers that were never supposed to experience direct reentry temperatures had been exposed. The investigation traced it back to something called skip reentry. Instead of diving straight into the atmosphere, the Artemis I capsule had dipped once to shed velocity, then used aerodynamic lift to skip back above the atmosphere like a stone bouncing off a pond before making a final descent. It sounded elegant. It was supposed to give mission planners flexibility in choosing a splashdown location. Inside the avcoat, it was catastrophic. Here's what happened at a material level. During ablation, avcoat produces gases internally. Under sustained high heat, those gases vent outward through the char layer in a self-regulating process. But during the skip phase, when the capsule climbed back above the atmosphere and external heating dropped, the char layer became denser, less porous, less permeable. The avcoat underneath was still warm enough to keep producing gas. That gas had nowhere to go. Pressure built inside the blocks, and when the capsule plunged back for the second pass, those pressurized pockets ruptured. They blew charred material off the shield in chunks. Now, here's the detail that makes this even harder to sit with. Even with all of that damage, even with over 100 unexpected failure points, the inside temperature of the Orion cabin never exceeded the mid-70s Fahrenheit. The avcoat was blocking heat brilliantly. It was just tearing itself apart while doing it, in ways nobody could predict, in ways nobody could model in advance with full confidence. And a blade of heat shield with unpredictable ablation is like a parachute that opens but might have random holes in it. It will probably slow you down, you just can't be certain how much. NASA reviewed the options. Replacing the heat shield would have added years to a program that had already slipped from 2024 to 2025 to 2026 through a cascade of delays, hydrogen leaks, and weather disruptions. Instead, they changed the flight plan. Skip reentry eliminated entirely. Orion will now fly a steeper, more direct descent, hitting the atmosphere harder but shorter. No pause in the middle, no moment for pressure to build inside the blocks and fracture the shield from within. The trade-off is real. Higher G-forces, greater structural loads, more intense peak heating, less flexibility in where they land. NASA's own risk estimates for this mission range between 1 in 50 and 1 in 2. At the optimistic end, that's a 2% chance of crew loss. At the other end, it's a coin flip.
Here's what those 4 minutes actually look like. Around April 10th, Orion reaches what engineers call entry interface, 122,000 meters above Earth's surface, where the atmosphere becomes thick enough to matter. The European-built service module that has provided power, propulsion, water, and breathable air for the entire 10-day mission separates from the crew module and burns up behind them. Everything disposable gets thrown away before re-entry. The launch abort system, the solid rocket boosters, the core stage, the service module. One by one, every component of a 30-story rocket that carried 4 people off the surface of the Earth has been discarded, until all that remains is a capsule roughly the size of a large SUV, falling alone. The guidance computer takes over. Orion rotates until the heat shield faces the direction of travel. Microthrusters make tiny adjustments to the angle of attack, trimming the trajectory toward the splashdown zone. Within 90 seconds, temperatures cross 2,000 degrees. The windows start to glow. The G-forces mount. The crew can hear the atmosphere ripping apart around them, and in Houston, every screen in mission control goes dark. Rick Hendling, the lead entry flight director, and his entire team sit at their consoles staring at nothing. They've trained for this silence. Simulation is not the same thing as the real thing, and every person in that room knows it. In April 1970, the crew of Apollo 13 re-entered after their service module was crippled by an explosion. Nobody knew if the heat shield had been compromised. The expected blackout was 3 minutes. It stretched past 4. then 5, then 6. When the voice finally came through the static, people in mission control wept. On February 1st, 2003, Columbia broke apart during reentry because foam insulation had struck the thermal protection tiles during launch. The crew never received a warning. Mission control didn't know until the telemetry vanished and never came back. Heat shield failure during reentry is not theoretical. It has killed 7 people. And now 4 more are falling through plasma at the edge of those same physics, protected by 186 blocks of material ranging from 2.5 to 7.5 centimeters thick. That's the margin. A few centimeters of engineered material that is deliberately designed, to burn. For 4 minutes, the crew of Artemis II is alone with physics. No support, no guidance, no telemetry. Just the sound of the atmosphere and the glow at the windows, and the math either holding together or it isn't. If the shield holds, the plasma thins, the signal returns. 2 drogue parachutes deploy at 7,600 meters to stabilize the descent. 3 main canopies pull out and bring the capsule down to a gentle splashdown in the Pacific off the coast of San Diego, where a Navy ship is already waiting. If it doesn't hold, the silence just keeps going. 54 years ago, we stopped going to the moon. We had the rockets, we had the astronauts, we just stopped. And for more than half a century, the farthest humans traveled was a few hundred kilometers above the surface, close enough to see city lights through the window at night. Artemis II is the first step back. 4 people, 1 capsule, a heat shield with a complicated history, and 4 minutes where nobody, not the most advanced space agency on Earth, not the finest engineers of their generation, not the flight directors who have given their careers to this moment, can do a single thing except wait. When that signal comes back, everyone will know the answer to the only question that has mattered since this mission began. The shield held, or it didn't. We'll know soon. If this video got your heart rate up even slightly, share it with someone, because this is happening right now, and most people have no idea. I'll see you in the next one.